a parent, you go back and you think about, wow, I would never do that to my kid.
Oh,
Or like I would do it differently, or, any sort of trauma you had as a kid comes up when you become a parent.
oh yeah. Yeah.
So, now I know both of you, so Irish triplets is something I never heard of before. I didn't even know
Yeah,
it could
tell me
be a
more.
thing. So can you explain, like, so Danny, I told you Danny's a mom of four.
Oh my
Um,
God.
did
What?
not have any in the
Wait,
same year, I don't think. No.
Huh?
You
No,
didn't
no.
have any in the same year, but they're all pretty close.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're all under two kind of age gaps. So,
Yeah.
but not Irish triplets. How did that? Okay, what's their like birth order?
So, I knew this would come up, and I'm like, how do I even like explain this situation? And like, I promise, like, what I say comes full circle, but like, to provide a good backstory on this, like, there's so many intricate details going into fertility and like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to explain like more off the bat, Irish triplets, we had all three in one year. Like, yes, it's possible. They all three were born in 2023. So I wanted to like explain a little bit first. I did not know I could have children.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had, I don't know, endometriosis, and I had surgeries for it and stuff like that. And this is before I met my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And my OB made it like very apparent, hey, when you're ready to have children one day, like come in, we'll discuss your options, hormones, like treatments, stuff like that. So it was always in the back of my head. And when I met my husband, I was very transparent with him at the time. Like, I would love to have kids, but I don't know if it's an option for us. And he was completely understanding. Like, if it's God's will, it will be God.
God
So,
willed it.
well, it's funny because when it comes full circle, it is insane. So I was over in Montana at the time. I was working in the medical field in the lab. That's like what I did before mommyhood. And I just had this feeling like I need to like test my pee to see if I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
I did, and I went to the bathroom and like I saw the two lines appear, and I was shaking, like crying, and I go back to the lab like trying to like hold myself together, and this woman who I'm like deathly scared of, like Sarah, what you're talking about, this woman had a bear necklace on with teeth, and I always thought she probably like killed those bears herself and wore this necklace. It turns out that's true. So
No, that's true.
yeah, it was true. Like
Oh God, I was scared of you because you were pretty and I didn't know you, not because you were scary.
You're so sweet, but she pulled me aside, right? She's like, "Hey, she know we were living in a travel trailer, like a camper. We went around, did cross country trips for my lab contracts." And I'm like, I can't raise a baby in a camper. What are we gonna do? And she's like, girl, let me tell you, like, this is my dog. Sorry.
Okay,
I
I have
get
them.
fine. Like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, no, like that's not work. But I go back and I call my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, and I'm like, we are pregnant. Like, what are we gonna do? And he was crying, but joyfully. And he's like, remember when you said like you didn't think you could have kids? Like, this is natural, And in my head, I was like so scared. First of all, because my previous experiences, I had miscarriages, I had a couple DNCs, like things like that, and I was terrified that I would lose this baby. I remember going to my OB in Montana, taking him literally every herbal tea that I drink, and I'm like, can I drink this? And he's like, you're gonna be okay.
Uh-huh.
In my head, I'm like, we're gonna have a girl because, like, going back 6 generations, there's been a girl born in 93 on my side of the family forever. And I'm like, well, it's got to be a girl. So my family, the running joke was like, well, if it's not a girl, you missed the year. So I'm sorry. Fast forward here. Jack is born January of 2023. And that's my first baby. Like, oh, so precious. And the video that I had posted, Danny, I know you didn't see it. Sarah, I know you did, but it's God's honest truth. I remember telling my husband, I don't know how people do this with twins. And it was like constantly on my mind.
Oh no.
I I was like abnormally tired, maybe like a month and a half after he was born. And I'm like, this is not, so pregnancy test is positive. And I'm like, well, we're having Irish twins. So that's like 2 born in a year. And my family was like, well, maybe you're going to have a girl. You're going to have a girl, 2023. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, whatever. So it was about 2 months later, give or take, to find out the gender. And I'm laying on the ultrasound table. My husband's there holding our infant, and there's 2 sacks. And I just looking over at my husband, and he's like, something looks different this time. And the ultrasound tech is like, well, there's 2. I would have fainted if I was not laying down. So I was like, how, because the first year of motherhood, I felt like I did everything right. Like, the caps on bottles for like the little pieces. Like, for instance, every one of those was accounted for. Jack,
Wow.
born with like eyes wide open, he never napped. We did everything together, like taught everything. And when the twins came, total opposite. Like, I went from feeling like I did everything right to like, this is hard, but like last year I was at a point that like I almost put a gun to my head. Like, it's hard to talk,
Wow.
and I'll get more into that like another time. If it, I don't want to dominate this conversation. It's just, again, like, it comes full circle. There's so much that, right, like on Instagram you see versus what you don't see, and that's so tough. And it was a very humbling situation. So yeah, all 3 in 1 year. And a lot of people don't know that, like, my husband was on 6 days out of the week, and it wasn't supposed to be like that job, So I'm like figuring out mother all 3, moving around. I was in the military, like worked in the medical field. I've lived all over. You lose with women. You lose right, and not staying in our hometown. That was tough. Like, it was so tough because I didn't have those girlfriends. Sarah, I'm selling the farm or whatever. It's in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's the only way we could afford that. Like, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. I'm stuck in the house, right? Like, these kids alone. And I felt like I had no one. I would call my grandmother, Danny, like, I want to go on this with you, because my grandmother, she had four children, very close in age, like back to back to back to back. And she was the only one that I knew, like, personally, like, how did you do this, Grandma? Almost 90 years old. And she's like, pray, like, throw them in a room and pray. And that's what I did. Like, I can tell you guys how many times, like, this past year, I've gotten down on my knees and I'm like, I cannot do this, tough, so tough. And my mom, she would come to visit Fredericksburg. And I remember one time she looked at me and she said, don't you feel alone here? And I said, Mom, like, I don't even have time to think about being alone. Like, I'm just trying to survive right now. So it's like, again, that video, Sarah, I know you saw it. Like, when I talk about people with like 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, it's all tough. It doesn't matter. It's so tough, Like, did you guys feel like that? Like, at all, like, isolated, even being like in your hometown? Did you feel like that?
Oh, for
Danny, I'm
sure.
gonna let you hit this one because I know your transition to 2. I mean, it was brutal. Like, it was your darkest moment in time. So I don't know if you feel. I know we tried to do this a few years ago and it was pretty fresh. And I feel
Yeah.
like you're at a point now where you have the wisdom to talk about it more, if you're okay with that. But
Oh, for sure.
I know it was right during COVID, but you can explain kind of.
Yeah. That, so like, I think it's like, motherhood is hard to talk about because there's everything about your life is like a factor into how that goes essentially. And so like for me, I did not have Irish twins or triplets, but my first two were about a year and a half apart. And I had some postpartum anxiety with my first, and had kind of come through that after a few months and was feeling good. But COVID hit, and then my second, my son, he was a very colicky baby, and so we just didn't sleep like at all. It was rough. And so all at once, I have this brand new baby. I'm not sleeping. I have my first like, and I think like I'm sure you guys can all relate to the feeling of like I carried a lot of guilt that I was taking away from my first. Like I was somehow hurting her life because I had a really needy newborn, and Levi was very like demanding of my attention. And so I carried a lot of guilt with that. My husband started working 13 to 14-hour days every day. And so he just wasn't home very much. And then when he was in the trenches with me. And I think he was going through his own mental health things at the same time. Just men are not very vocal about it. Do you know what I mean? But we just felt like our marriage felt distant. So that's another thing going on. And it's COVID, and I'm scared my baby's going to die. It's delusional, but like I'm like being fed all this fearful information. And so I'm not letting anybody in. Like, so I'm not accepting help. No one's allowed to help me, even though I live across the street from my parents. I'm like, I don't want you here because I don't want you to give my baby COVID and then my baby die. And this, this just goes on for months. And my mental health just keeps declining because of all of these things. Eventually, by about like 6 months postpartum, I don't really know. Like, I can't explain what happened, but like, I all of a sudden was like, I think I'm gonna die. Like, I just was convinced I was dying. And like, it was like some sort of like just a flip of a switch went off in my brain, and I was like I used to worry about my kids getting hurt or being sick. And like with Levi, I had like 1,000 things that I had thought. I brought him to the doctor all the time, being like, I think this is wrong with him. And she's like, no, he's okay. Really, he's a healthy baby. But then it switched to me, and like all of my obsessive thinking was like, this is wrong with, I'm dying of this. Like, oh no, it's this. And anyways, it was just dark. I brought myself to the doctor a lot because I was convinced something was wrong with me. I got scans and tests and all these things, and I was fine. I was perfectly healthy, but like I was like manifesting things in my body, like symptoms. Like I was dizzy for like months on end, just out of like sheer anxiety. I would like drop weight really rapidly because I would just stop eating because I was so. Anyways, it was really bad. And I am fairly certain the lack of sleep alone was like probably one of the biggest factors in my mental health declining so badly. But eventually, okay, so there's like I got a therapist, I got on medication, and slowly but surely, I remember texting y'all probably like a month and a half into medication, being like, "Wait, this isn't so bad. Like like life is okay actually." But for a while, it was really not okay, and feelings of like loneliness, feelings of what have I done? I'm trapped in this life now, and I can't get out of it. I refuse to abandon my children. I love them, but I hate it here so much.
That is so real.
It's so dark, and you think you're
It's
the
dark.
only, gaslight yourself like I'm the only one having these dark thoughts. And it really wasn't until I realized that I wasn't the only one having super dark thoughts that like I felt a little bit better about it. Do you know what I mean? Not that like it's healthy to feel that way, but I do think it's very common to feel that way. And just like taking away that bit of loneliness was really helpful for me. So like Sarah talking about getting this out there, I think is so important. So because if some other mom who is in our position feeling lonely, feeling stuck, trapped, and having dark thoughts of like, I almost wish these kids were never born because then I wouldn't feel so low. Like it's okay. It's okay to have those thoughts. It's not okay to feel that way for a long time and not do something to help yourself, because you deserve to feel happy and you deserve, to take care of yourself. But it happens.
Sarah, like, did you go with your kids? Like,
I would I was talking to Danny about how much money you'd have to pay me to relive Andy's first year of life. And I think everybody has their year that sucks.
Hmm.
Or at least mentally the worst. My first year with Andy, like nothing. I always have had anxiety. I've always been open about it. I've taken medication since I was 15. Like there's reasons why I have anxiety, like, and we can go into that another day, but it's just who I am. Okay. Like I'm an anxious person. And so I stayed on medication. I wasn't in a position where I chose that even through my pregnancy, like it would be worse if I got off. So
yeah.
for me, I stayed on it, and thank God. um, I the first year was such a mind fuck, and I apologize. You guys have been so eloquent with your words, but like
Oh,
it was so um it's just I don't even know how to explain it. For me, it's like all of a sudden you're almost grieving I remember grieving the life I had before, like the freedom, the sleep, the only worrying about me and my husband and my family. And that was already too much worry. And now I have a sweet little human that it's my job to keep alive, like to keep alive. Like, and everything is telling you that if you do one thing wrong, your kid could die, or like like if they don't sleep on their back with nothing in the crib, like, and then,
No, they
but
won't frickin' sleep like that.
so I will credit that the only reason that I like had glimmers of hope and it didn't get as dark as some of the stories that you guys have told is because I had the support of people who had already been through it, which was mainly Danny, because and I wish like you had kids before a lot of your friends did. Um and to even just be like, "Hey, I'm feeling this way," like, and someone be like, "Look, I've been there. I felt that way. It does get better," was just, I don't know how I would have done it. And not everybody has that village. And Grace, that's what, like, I can only imagine how isolating it felt. And I'm glad that you found conversations to be able to have with your grandma. But still,
Yeah.
like, that was what, like, 60 years ago for her, like, or 50, like, it's hard to, and she's right, praying. I mean, and I know Danny, that's probably a lot of what you did was to leave it up to God and some like other, and whatever you believe, like, you can't do it by yourself. You just can't.
No. Not see. Well, part of my problem was I was not ready to let go of those feelings to God. Um,
Oh, okay.
that's like a control issue of my own. That
Mm-hmm.
has been my own personal uh journey with the Lord, of just trusting that He is going to take care of it if I let go of it. I'm just not good at that by nature. I've gotten a lot better, but for a long time I was like, no, 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 no. Like, He can't help me. No one can help. I don't know. I was
no, I like,
just not. I couldn't break free of that. You know what I mean?
yeah. And it's so hard because it's like, what do you pray for, right? Like, I prayed for sleep, like, Lord, like, just give me some rest. And I wanted to talk about this because both of you had hit on this, and like, I knew things would come up, but like, of course, we're like, roll. I had asked my mom to come and help with the twins. Um, Literally right after the appointment, and I had to humble myself because I was that person that did not ask for help and do everything. I've always done it all, you know. Yeah, right. So that was very tough. I remember it was a huge fight that happened between my mom, my husband, and it just blew up, and she was out of there. And she's like, you know, I'm not doing this because of this. I'm doing this because you've got to figure this out on your own. And I wasn't ready. And that we had left, in 5 days, I clocked, I think it was like 6 hours of sleep right out. And I always thought to myself, like, if God can bring me through this, I can get through anything. Because mentally, like your brain starts to change where it's very scary because I remember thinking these illogical, irrational thoughts. Well, if I'm dead, I'll be able to sleep. It makes perfect sense. And it becomes very scary. And after that week, like I felt like my brain chemistry had permanently changed. And like it was scary. And when we talk about lack of sleep, there's no telling like what it actually does to you. That sacrifice, that others have, um, that they give to their children and things like that. It was tough, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things like people see it. Like for instance, my daughters with the twins, I tried to go as far as I could carrying them. I almost made it 37 weeks, and my daughter, she was born, she would choke all the time, and it was terrifying. At one point, she turned purple, so I was scared to sleep, and I was so terrified that I was so tired that if I did sleep, I wouldn't wake up, and I would wake up and she'd be dead. So like you're carrying this in the back of your head, anxiety, like, oh my God, if how guilty would I feel if I slept for 2 hours and she was dead? And it's like it could have happened. Like I don't know that. I'm so thankful that it didn't. But there's so much that men don't. They provide in a different way. Like they sacrifice in a different way.
Mhm.
But mothers, like it's a whole other ballgame that only other mothers will understand. So when you guys talk about lack of sleep, like that's it. That's it right there. Because when you get a good night's sleep, you feel like almost you can tackle the world the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're everyday repetition, no sleep, stress, like whatever, everything, your world starts to start, and you feel like the crappiest mom in the world. And that's tough. It's like debilitating almost. And
Totally
people
agree.
like this whole image, I see it so much online, like motherhood is this, motherhood's that. And it's like, there's points personally that I'm like, what did I do? Like I'm so thankful to have my children, but Sarah, like you said, like I grieve the life that I had before. I can like again, it's like one of those like crying points or whatever, but I remember being pregnant with Jack and going down to the water at my dad's house and like crying like, God, like what am I supposed to do? Like I've always been this person that's like gone to school at the same time. I worked a full-time job and like I built this really great career for myself, and now I'm pregnant, and I'm like I'm gonna lose my identity, in motherhood. And I felt like this last year was like a big realization for me personally that like, but I should, I'm not the same person I am now that I've had kids. I don't want to be that person anymore, and it's okay with accepting that and like growing, just to like be on this conversation to talk with you guys about this. Like, if other mothers feel like that, like, it's okay. You're gonna lose your identity. You are. You're not the same person, and that's okay. You're not supposed to be. Not so,
You're so sweet. You're making me cry. You're just so amazing. You're doing so amazing.
I feel like you have done as much growth as I've gotten in 6 years in like a third of the time.
no.
Give me a really long time to get to that point.
Yeah.
There's
So
literally
seriously, props to you.
no comparison at all, and this is why I say motherhood is so humbling because, like, for instance, my husband and I went through like, wow, this past year again, like another topic for another day. But we were at the park together, like basically going to separate, and so we were keeping our distance from each other, like whatever. And this other mom, she approached me. She saw I had, the twins, and sh I don't know. It was just like small talk or whatever. And she's like, "Oh, like I know what you're going through." And I've heard that before. And oftentimes it's from people that are like, "Yeah, my sister has like a stepchild or something." And oh, yeah, she totally knows what I'm going through. What, you know. But this mom, she's like, "I have a set of twins. We had like one child first, another set. and another set. So she had 5 kids, like, but 2 sets of twins. She's like, my husband's a firefighter. He's gone, like I do on my own. And I'm like, oh my God, like I thought I had it tough. It was one of the most humbling experiences ever. Cause I'm like, I thought maybe I had it together a little bit, screaming into a pillow almost, you know,
Uh-huh.
but just to hear that, it was like, it just was eye opening. Like, you just don't know what other people are going through. And you could tell, like, on her face, like, she wanted to talk. And uh, I wish that I did. I wish that I did. I just couldn't bring myself at that point. Like, I'm struggling so much, and just to ask another mom, like, how she's doing it, like, it was my grandmother, but it's hard, it's hard. Like I said, there's what you see versus what you don't see, especially on social media. And again, like, going back to that video, Sarah, like, there was a handful of women that out that, like, knew me personally, that were like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, what do they see that I don't see? Like, am I really projecting this image of, like, someone who has it together? And I'm like, no, 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 like, please, like, I don't want you to feel this way. Like,
Mhm.
if anything, like, please, like, no, like, call me in the middle of the night. If you're up, I promise I'm most likely up too. Like, it's okay. And I hate that because I still see that online, and I'm like, well, Grace, you were that person. So when I say, like, motherhood was such a humbling experience, it's because of that. Like, I didn't have that with Jack. It wasn't until the twins came that I was like, you don't have it together, and who the hell does? So
Yeah. But
Exactly.
I think there is a lot of beauty. It makes me think of a conversation I had with my husband last night. He has been going through just like his own growth period. And a friend of his sent him a voice memo and like almost made him cry. And dudes don't cry that often. So but his friend was like, Josh, like, you're just like the glue sometimes. You just did it, and like was really hyping him up. And he's like, Danny, I feel like I'm like falling apart right now sometimes. And like I don't even know like how he could say this about me when I feel like I'm just like a mess. And I was like, I think that God uses us in those moments. Like, it is not our strength. God is teaching people in our hurt and our vulnerabilities, but you have to be vulnerable and you have to be willing to be open to people. And through that, you help people. Just like Sarah saying, like, oh, like Danny helped me a lot. I'm like, girl, I'm the hot mess express. I don't actually know what's going on. But isn't that beautiful that like God's able to take that really hard season that I was coming out of, when we were pregnant with the 2-year-olds, the now 2-year-olds, and use it to make a beautiful thing, which is helping a friend get through one of the harder seasons of life. Like, I didn't realize that I was that helpful, but I'm glad. And
Mhm.
like you were saying, Grace, like being able to just share on social media, like you probably have no idea how helpful it is to people to just share your vulnerable parts of yourself and your heart, because again, we're all going through really hard things and we just feel lonely in it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
or like, you don't want to, like, if someone else, you just maybe assume, like, you're having a great day, like, why would you want to, like, reach out and, like, bring someone else down, or, like, you know
Mm.
like, bother them, or whatnot. And like, I felt like that a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but like, I felt like I struggled with someone else's. And with motherhood, like, it's different because your struggles, like, we're going through the same thing. And I don't want to say this, and like, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but like, when you said my parents lived right across the street, I was like, wow, that put things in perspective very quickly for me, that it doesn't matter if I stayed in my hometown or not. people go through the same feelings. And,
Yeah.
my situation was not unique to the other mother. So it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, how many kids you have, feelings are not unique to only you. Like, motherhood is a shared experience, grieving, but also, like, there's so much beauty in it. You look back and you're like, so great for those experiences. Like, in a couple years, I hope you're like, can you believe you were like at that point? Like, I know it's gonna happen. Like, I pray that it does. That we're constantly uplifting each other, uplifting other moms to where they feel vulnerable to share their experiences as well. Because, like, I've seen people that have got this hard, like, lost children, like, lost them,
Ugh,
like,
yeah.
almost. And I know that they see my family, and, like, I feel so guilty that, like, I bet they're praying they could just wish that they have what we have. Like, personally, that's so tough for me because I want to just hug them and, like, say, like, I feel for you. Like, I love you. Like, how dare I complain about these things when you wish you could complain about too. And, like, gosh, you know,
No, you just have, and I have struggled a lot, and with similar feelings of just when you're a very empathetic soul, which you can, this is my first time talking to you face to face, but you can just tell that you feel so deeply. And when you do that, it still feels like the weight of the world is on you. And it's hard. It's hard to see those sad stories and not just be completely devastated and feel it and almost feel guilty for your own happiness. Or even you're guilty for even being upset ever. Like, why should I be upset when at least I have my kid here with me? Like, and I think my therapist would tell me that both things can be true.
Yes.
You can be extremely sad or just upset and tired and just stressed, and also, you know, just have that empathy for the other family at the same time. Um, it's hard, but
it's such
I
an
don't know.
emotions.
Hmm.
Like you're saying, like, to experience two emotions at one time, being stretched to your limit on each end of the spectrum. Like, I think almost like it gives you fatigue almost, like, to experience so much at one time. It, personally, like, I felt almost like insane. Like, is it okay
Hmm.
experiencing these things? But it's like, we're human mothers. It's okay to experience everything like you're experiencing. Every emotion is normal. It's normal. And sometimes, like, personally, I felt like it wasn't. Um, so, uh, yeah, I don't know.
No, I think, um, I also, so I wish there's so many resources that I have personally just through the years of doing the work and therapy and doing and being vocal about mental health. I know people, and I just want to bring conversations that I've had with other people to everybody, like, because I like just certain books that have helped me, or certain, like, just conversations with different professions that can bring to light more insight for us. Like, why do we spiral? Why do we feel all the things? Like, why is it mentally so fatiguing to be a mom? Like, the mental fatigue of just like everything going, like, the how much you feel, just feeling is hard and tiring. Like, we feel everything. We feel like we're thinking about somebody else's, like, cousin's child's dog who passed away, and we're sad about it. Like, it's just, and now, but we're also like, okay, I had this kid's appointment. I got to get this groceries. I got to take the kids. Like, it never stops.
Yeah.
And we can't explain it to, it's so hard to explain to my husband, who is as understanding as they come, but I can't put him in my brain. Like and I don't want it. If he was in my brain, he would probably be so fucking scared.
Does
Like, you do this every day. Like, it is exhausting. It's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. I think your cortisol levels, like there's actual chemicals in your body that are so high that it's it's just too much. And I really am on a path to like try to find ways where we don't have to be in the thick of it all the time. Like, even though we are in a season of life to where we are stressed, we're sleep deprived, we're all this stuff, but we still deserve to enjoy most days instead of like not enjoying. And I just like, it's hard, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even just talking and doing these, connecting with people and like being creative, like doing podcasts or like, like just like finding things that bring us joy. And I think the most that I can tell, like, especially with us, is just being able to connect with other moms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is just, I don't know, it gives us something else to think about. And it's like our superpower, like being empathetic, knowing what it's like to fucking go on 2 hours of interrupted sleep and go do your next day, whatever you have to do, is a
Yeah.
superpower. It's not like something we ever want to do again, but it's just, it unlocks something in you, like an empathy in you that not everybody has.
Yeah.
And that's like an amazing thing. Like, Danny, I know that you've had really hard postpartum periods in general. I think with every kid had something that was hard. And you treasure that so deeply for moms, for other people, that, like, I'll give an example. Like, my second baby, Danny made sure to come over. She literally spent like 3 hours with me, baked her homemade cookies, made me a homemade chicken pot pie, and held my child and just let me just be me. And I, and that's, you've done that for everybody. Like, that's not, and you just, it is something that I wish you could do job title that. And Grace, I'm sorry you're crying. But isn't that like, it meant so much to me because, but I know how much it means to you, and how
Mm-hmm.
how vulnerable we are after having a child. And you protect mom so fiercely
Mm-hmm.
that I know you have 4 kids to raise, but in a future life, like, I feel like that is like, I wish there was, I don't even know what you would call that, but that is just something that,
Mm-hmm.
has unlocked in you that I think is just a really beautiful thing. And I think, Grace, you are just on the path to do what take over the world with your vulnerability. Like, it is the way you're able to get those words out is really amazing. And I
Mm-hmm.
like what, that's how I even talked to you in the first place, is because you did a story. And as you can tell, me and Dan, we cry, but it's harder for us to cry. And some people are good at it, but like, that brought me to tears. Like, I was like, holy shit! Like, this person I don't know said she loved me, and that it's hard no matter what. Like, it was really powerful. And we just need to take these like little parts of us and make them, just like, just own them and like do something with it. Like, we're not suffering for nothing, right? Like, this is hard.
That's great for nothing.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna drink my drink, but I just am so impressed by women and mothers, and just,
Mm-hmm.
and I know not every, and then you're like guilty. I'm like, ugh, I know not everybody gets to be moms, like, and that breaks my heart too. And it doesn't take anything away from like somebody there, I don't know, but it does. We can only have the perspective we have, and right now that's where we're at. um but yeah, I mean, it can get really fucking dark, right? But it also can be really amazing.
Like, two at once. And I have to say, it's always been very for me. Like, we can talk this like body image, self image too, but for me, I'm very, like, when you said, "Wow, I thought you were so beautiful," like, I appreciate that. It was It's not hard for me to talk about. It's just I think it can be a little lengthy, but I had a speech impediment when I was younger, so like I always wanted to like help other people, help other through the season, and I'm like loved writing, but I felt like at night, like when I would sit down, it would become so formal because that's what I was used to in college that I'm like, is this really gonna help someone? Paragraphs, you know, like no. So when I made a video, I was like, just do it, and I think I did like 2 or 3 recordings. One like I had Rachel playing in the background and like screaming, and then 2 I'm like stuttering on my words. Oh my gosh, it's a speech impediment coming out from when I was a kid. And like in that video, how it was, I was repeating a lot of things, and I was like, screw it, just post it. You know, like if it helps someone, it helps someone. Like you know, and like first takes like I went like maybe 30 seconds through, but like at the end, I didn't expect to cry. You know, like I didn't expect that, but like when the truth comes out, when you become vulnerable, you almost get on this different frequency. Like you know, of when it connects to people, they understand. Like they can feel the emotions too. And Danny, I had a question for you, and just to like go back a little bit because I felt like this like, through this last year of motherhood. Like even though I was in a very tough place, there was people in my life that were having children, and I did things for them that like I wish people had done for me. And I wanted to ask, like, is that where it like stemmed from? Was it rooted in that like, wow, like, you know, if I just want to be the help that I wish that I had. Did it come from that?
Partially. So actually, my first postpartum experience was really good.
Yeah.
Um, at least for like the first, initial first few weeks. My sister flew back home and stayed and helped me for like the first week postpartum, and she would come over every day and help take care of me. My grandmother came over frequently, and she would just like pop in, and she'd be like, I'm gonna hold the baby, you go take a nap, and I would just go nap, and then she would fold some laundry and leave, and like or like she would make sure all of my dishes were done. She would just drop off food. My mom was checking in on me. And it was just a really peaceful and beautiful experience, especially like, Sarah, you talked a lot about like this like transition from your old life and how jarring that was. Like it made that like I could focus on getting through that because people were blessing me by taking care of those extra things. And then my second postpartum experience, right, was complete opposite. I wouldn't even let anybody help me because I was so nervous about getting sick. Um, and it was so significantly harder. And so I was like, man, the difference that makes, at least for me, like having someone even in the house just to talk to, stopping by, checking on you, bringing you a meal, or just cleaning up something, tidying something for you, holding your baby so that you just have a minute to like not hold a baby. And some people they prefer to hold the baby, and that's totally fine. You always ask, and that's easy. But for me, it very much was inspired by the way that like my mom, my grandma, and my sister had helped me that first part postpartum, and then seeing the jarring difference. Now, every experience has been different through the years, and like even this fourth time has been one of the harder. Like the newborn season was one of the harder ones, just because of some other factors that were going on in our life. But I think what I have seen is we just don't value mothers, which is insane. Like they're raising our future generation. How is that not one of the most valuable things to us? The people who are going to take care of us when we are older and sick.
Yep.
The people who are going to run everything for us when we are older. And we don't want to invest in them, right? Like we don't want to invest in these mothers who are raising these people who are going to take care of us when we're older. And that's just in a selfish sense, but like in a realistic sense, like, and like a humane sense, rather than take care of mothers and check in on them more frequently than after 6 whole weeks go by, we make them go back to work. And we say, do it with a smile on your face, even though you've had 2 broken up hours of sleep the night before and every other guilty, horrible feeling going on in your head. But hi, I'm Danny and I work at so and so. You know what I mean? It's just insane to me. Um, so yeah, I think I don't know how to put into words how disappointed I feel in the way that moms are treated in the United States specifically. It's just disappointing.
doing. Yeah, because it's like if you're not gonna like, you can't rely on the outside, especially the U.S. system. And I get that from working in, like, I know we're just talking. I like don't know what you guys did, motherhood, but it's it's awful, uh, for those expectations for mothers, and I think that's why it's so. Sarah, you said it, like moms are so powerful because we have the ability to lift other mothers up, to not let them feel this way. Sure, they might feel this way, but we're gonna help them through it, you know. And Sarah, like I wanted to ask you, did how did you like go through with your 2 kids? Did you experience like I know you said naturally like you're a little bit anxious, but when you had your kids, like did your level, did you feel that coming across through your kids and things like that? What was your experience like postpartum with your children? You know?
Um, so for me, with my biggest fear, like when I had my second, was like, how am I supposed to love another human when I have this, like, when I'm like obsessed with I was like legit scared of, like, I just didn't understand. I went through a lot too with like personal family stuff, both pregnancies. And I think that almost made like my pregnancies were never like, I was never in a mentally fantastic place during that time. Um, so that in itself, I think made, I don't know, just connections hard. I think when when the baby was like inside of my belly for some reason, I don't know, in general, but, um, I think that the having a second kid, Danny named it best because me and my husband both went through it. I think I only went through it with my first. With my second, I saw for the first time my husband go through it. And I don't do well when he doesn't do well. Like, I, when people around me, like I need a constant like feeling safe, and that's just comes from whatever things in the past. But like when he's doing well, like it's okay for me to not do well. When he's not doing well, I'm like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? Like, why is he not, like, what's happening? Like, I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. Like, so it was hard. I think it was hard. The hardest transition of like communication between us, like as that relationship. I think Danny called it being balls deep in parenthood for the first time. And it's like it's really jarring to be like, holy shit, like this, now we have two and we really can't do anything that we used to. And my husband's younger than I am, and all of his friends do not have kids yet. They're barely married. I don't know, maybe, yeah, some of them are finally getting engaged. I don't know. So I just think that season of life, you're really realizing, okay, like we are in the thick of parenthood. Like we don't have like, you're not only worrying about taking one kid out with you to go somewhere, like now you have two. And like, as you know, now you went from one to three. Like this isn't just like a damn, like everyone who doesn't have kids is like, just bring them. And I'm like, oh my God. Or just get a babysitter, And it's like, uh,
Let's go down the
I,
line, Z, why we don't do those.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think the biggest part was like the family dynamic changed. Um, Isla is fantastic. My second, like, she didn't sleep for shit. I would say that. Like, this is our first, like, this was my first breastfeeding experience and my first co-sleeping experience. Um, and now that we're at a year, I finally feel like I am a human again. I feel like I am thinking clearer, but like, I was more sleep deprived this go around than the first go around. And that makes, like we said before, that makes you fucking insane. It makes you unstable and irritated and overstimulated, and you're just like, you're not thinking clearly. Any sort of irrational thought you had before is just expanded, and like, you can't think rational, you can't explain how you're feeling. It's just sleep deprivation. And isn't that a form of torture for people? Like in
Oh,
the military, isn't sleep deprivation like a form of torture? Like, it really is that bad. And I want to find someone who's like an expert in that, like the brain and like maybe like the science behind it. But we're not crazy. We're just sleep deprived, and it's not fair. It's not fair. Um,
I'm sure
so that's,
that is even when you're out of like that new baby stage and your baby is sleeping more. You, I've noticed it for myself. I'm curious if you guys have noticed, like, and it's been eye opening for me when we do regress in sleep because they get a cold or they're going through some big leap and they're learning a new skill and they start waking up more frequently. What?
said teething. Oh my gosh.
Teething, yes. Whatever it is that causes them to then not sleep as much, I can see myself just decline. And I can the more experience I have, the more I recognize it. And like I recently called myself out back like probably like a few weeks ago, Sarah, when I was
mhm.
like, okay, I can tell my thoughts are just these are not rational thoughts. These are sleep deprived Danny thoughts. Do you guys catch yourself in that place all the time?
Grace, you've probably been constantly sleep deprived for the past 2 years. I don't.
Yeah.
Have you come out of it at all?
What, again, like, I know I say like I'm gonna come full circle, but I want people to have behind what I'm saying before they get scared. Um, yes, like we're slowly getting out of it. When I say like I was doing this 5 to 6 days a week, like 24/7 by myself. My husband would come home like that one day. Chopfire would like try to spend like he's a wonderful husband, wonderful dad. Like seriously, like again, I could start crying. Like really is. But that one day, up on him, because he's driving 13, 14 hours a day coming home. And like it was that, oh my gosh, like let me go back a little bit. When we bought that farmhouse, my husband is actually the one who bought it. And I told him, I said, this isn't our house. Like, it's not it. We did it anyway. So we were only expecting Jack at the time. It's fine. Our plan was to homestead. We had cows and things like that.
Wow.
And so his plan was to work from home. Like, yes, he is a truck driver, but he has his degree in finance. You know, at one point, like, planned to go to Wall Street and like that. It didn't work out. So his plan was to be home with us to work from home when the twins were born. And I'm like, great, I'll have him help, And it ended up not working out that way. And he went back to work as a truck driver. So that was like half hour.
Can you go back to that, please?
It's like a day off. Like driving 2.5 hours. I've been driving all week out, but there was responsibilities that he had as well. So the sleep deprivation was like exponentially like multiplied, right? Because I'm expecting like that one day that he's home, like I might get to nap, but he has so many responsibilities to take care of that I can't during the week. I can't go mow the lawn with 3 babies. I can't
Mm-hmm.
firewood with 3 babies. I look back and laugh because I would literally have like 2 of the kids are like babies side by side, like holding one, trying to go feed cows and stuff. It was ridiculous. So
You're a champ.
that's the period of my life where I was like, I'm telling you, like, sleep deprived to max. And it was hard. I always felt like, am I ever going to come in, like, praying all the time? I don't talk about this a lot. Like, I had my vices. Like, I was smoking almost every night before bed. And I'm like, I need this to be calm. I need to go to sleep at night. I need this. I need this. And I would pray about it. Like, God, I know I'm wrong, but, like, I feel like you understand. Which, like, it wasn't. Like, that's fine. Like, if that still, that, it's just me personally. Like, that was another struggle that I had to go through. Like, the guilt of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what helped me to settle down, because I'm on my feet like 20 hours a day, and like, just deprived. And like, I wanted to talk about this so much because I feel like, again, what people see versus what they don't see, and it's the body image conversation, and it's tough. Like, it's very tough. And I had posted something the other day. It was with my mom. It was her mother's pictures from last year, and we had used that photographer a time or two. She had a stepson, but no kids, like, that she gave birth to. And one of the first things she said when she saw me was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you had. You look great." And the first thing I asked was, "I wish I had a chance." And, like, I didn't even think twice. There
What did
was,
you say? Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
oh no, it's fine. She said, "Wow, you look great. You know, like, how did you have 3 kids?" And, like, the first thing out of my mouth was, I had a chance to eat. And, like, I didn't even think about what I was saying. Like, it just came out. It was God. It was like, I had so many family members, like, my weight, like, wow, you look anorexic, like, you need to eat. And it's like, oftentimes people are the same that wouldn't sit and make you a meal. They take you out to eat. Like, they'll comment. And it's like, everyone that knows, like, one of my biggest passions is cooking. I love cooking. If you're coming over having a 3-course meal where everything's homemade, like, I love cooking. And that was so hard last year. Like, how do you look like that? Oh my gosh, secret. And I'm like, uh, I'm almost dumbfounded. Like, it's not what you, like, I'm so busy. I'm so tired taking care of my kids, the cows, the chickens, the dogs. Like, the last thing I'm thinking about is like, wow, I need to make a meal. There were so many times I had to choose between, do I take a nap or do I, like, prepare myself a meal? When my mom came, she asked me, like, can I make you a sandwich? And, like, I wanted to cry at that, like, wow, like, thank you for no, like, thank you so much. Like, it's oh, other, and it was so, and it's still hard because it's like, when you don't eat like that for long periods of time, like, your stomach shrinks. So I would, like, go out and, like, especially my husband's family, and they're like, you need to eat something, and they're, like, shoving food down my throat, or, like, get a second plate, and I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And I had gone through this period, like, when I gained probably like 80 pounds, and I was okay with it. Like, I knew what I needed to do to nourish, and eating was fine. With the twins, there's no room to eat. Like, straight up, no room. And so, different scenarios with different pregnancies, and like, growing up, I was always like that awkward kid. I remember in elementary school, like, over kids at the recess talking about the fat kids in the class. I was one of them. And my mom and dad had divorced. He basically pulled us, and I laugh about it now. But me and my brother, we would sit across the table from each other, do portions, and my dad would say, "Don't finish everything on your plate." We're like 6 years old, and it's like buffet portion. So I break free of that, and like, even the last 10 years, even being in the military, like, I always fought, like, during winter time, I gained like 30 pounds, and then I worked so hard, like, spring and summer. And I remember just being like, I need to be free of this. Like, I have a very healthy relationship with food. And, like, mine was poor control. I was like, the drinking was out of hand, just completely unhealthy things that people don't expect or see. Because, like in the military, like top PT scores, like I worked so hard at that career in so many different aspects. But that was one of them. And like to this day, it's not an unhealthy relationship with food. It's like, it's the people's comments that like always get me, that like there's this unrealistic expectation of women to look a certain way after motherhood. And for me, it's like it happened, but not the way that other people think it happened, because it was completely unhealthy. I had very limited. I wouldn't have survived my mom. I know that, but like I just wish I could have been eating. And going back again full circle to like being our photographer, I just wish I could eat. You know, so it's again like what you see versus what you don't see. Another woman might look and say, "Oh my gosh, like how do you look like that after kids?" And it's like, girl, it's not what you think. It's not what you know.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that is, I mean, the first thing you say to someone who looks great after birth, like, wow, you look so good. How'd you do it? And it's like, first of all, I think, and I need to do this too, I think we all should just stop commenting on women's bodies.
Yeah,
Maybe because you don't know, like, the spiral that could come after that. Like, oh God, like, yeah, but now she thinks that I look amazing, but truly, I don't remember my last time I ate a solid meal. Or like, or if you just had a kid and you still have your, what do we call it, Nanny? Our little, or what do your kids call our stomachs? Or
What? The stomach? I don't know. My kids try to knead my stomach. Is that what we're talking about right
yeah.
now?
Like, after
There's
you
a
have a
need to
certain amount of
go.
kids, like, it just, there's stuff that just hangs out there. Or like, or people who think like you're
Your
still
mom.
pregnant, or something like, it's just, there's unrealistic expectations all around, and the reality is never what you think. It's never what you think, and that is so amazing and brave of you to share, and I'm really happy that you did, because from the outside looking in, it's like, oh yeah, she must work out, she must have time to do all this and that, and it's like, I just don't have any fucking time to eat, truly. And I'm also, the fact that you love to cook is, you and Danny are so similar, because I don't know how Danny still, I mean, that's one of your things that you stay up late to do, right, Danny? Or like
Yes.
that, yeah,
I
or
mean, I
that
think,
brings you
well, a
joy.
lesson I learned along the way is to do things that make you happy.
Mhm.
And if you don't do things that make you happy, then you're just not happy. So making time to do things that make you happy. And Grace, just like you, like, I love food and I like to eat and cook delicious things. So
All that,
it makes me happy.
yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, I think that's like a good point. I think more so specifically the not how do I'm trying to formulate how I say this. I think it's perfectly fine to be like, Sarah, you look amazing. You look
Uh-huh.
so beautiful.
Uh-huh.
It is not okay to be like, oh my gosh, you look so good for having 2 kids.
Mm.
Boo, like boo. Like
Yeah. Boo. Let's boo that. Boo.
boo. Or what, like, okay, like Grace, you don't even look like you've had a baby. Like, how did you lose all that weight? Boo. Boo.
Yeah.
Oh, Danny, congratulations, you're pregnant again. No, I'm not. Thank you for reminding me that I have a mommy pooch.
Mm-hmm.
Boo. Okay. I like it, just say someone looks good. Like, oh my gosh, you look like, you told Grace that green looks so pretty on you. And it
Mm-hmm.
does. It makes your eyes pop.
Oh, thank you. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
so true. And I'm not gonna lie. Like I moved the camera around the room, and I'm like, okay, I look uh, like you can see my pimples over here, whatever. I'm kind of about to
Mm-hmm.
cry. But I'm like, okay, I'll sit on the floor and put my phone next to this bug on the windowsill, like whatever. But
Yeah, that's true, Danny. I never thought about that, because obviously we all need to hear compliments and lift each other up. but there's like that
Mhm.
caveat to it, like you look good for having 2 kids, or like it's
Yeah.
like yeah,
I
yeah.
get that. I will get that when people compliment me most often. It's like, oh, you look great for having 4 kids. And I just want to hear, like, you look great. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Which I will say, my husband is very good at that. Like, Joshua
Mm-hmm.
is great at just loving me in that way.
That's because
Um,
you guys are the only people who have multiples who have a good sex life. I think I'm just gonna put we can
Do
talk
you
about that
know how
another
this
day.
happens? Yes, I know how this happens, my friend.
You guys are something else. I can't. We'll just won't go there. We'll go there
Yeah.
another day.
Another day. Another day.
As talking, but like some things you're like, wow, you like we have other hobbies. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I promise.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to. My phone's gonna die.
Okay.
We got to an hour and 12 minutes, which is fantastic. And we could go a whole nother hour, but obviously we're needed in other areas of our lives. But
Mhm.
thank you guys so much. This won't be the last time we do this. Obviously, I don't know. This was just an amazing first experience, and I think just a testament to why this is important. Um, and yeah, I'm just so happy. Grace, you jumped right on board, and we're so excited to do this. And I'm just
Yeah.
so thankful that we got to connect. And now we all have each other's number. Um, and I just, yeah, I will save everything. And obviously, if you go back and think, I can send it you guys the video. If you're ever like, ooh, I actually don't want that in there, or don't share
Mm.
that, you can just tell me,
Mhm.
because we talked about a lot of things.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm not gonna just throw it out to the internet yet. So because we talked a lot. But I do think that this is going to be very helpful for women, and that's the point.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
woo
Like,
woo, we
Yeah.
did it.
yes, it's such a good start. Like, I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And like, I don't mean to keep like dragging on, but I listen to a lot of like that. Not really on my, but fun to hear. Oh my gosh, if you go back and listen to that first episode, like it's so embarrassing or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just hope that like I want this to. There's so many topics. Like, literally, just listen to like the last hour. Like, talk about this. Oh my gosh, let's talk about
Yes.
Yeah.
it. There's a conversation that should and needs to be had that is like different topics that if other women are listening, please, like, there's so much experience that if you don't think know other people have gone, like, someone has, and are
Yeah.
just that perspective applied it that way, like, um
I think
I,
we could group text about like what we could talk about next time, or if I
Yeah.
could tell you guys like who like I would love to add like to the conversation, like whether it's like a therapist, or a pediatrician, or a developmental specialist, or like
Mhm.
I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys do too. Or another mom who has had a unique experience. I think that we can find something like that, and it's so easy to do. If I can figure out the production part of it, like after I look at the video and it actually like is ingest, like it looks good enough to share, and I'm sure it will. But um yeah, then the possibilities are endless with that, because I
Yeah.
have no problem being vulnerable and sharing stuff now that I don't care as much what people think. So
Yeah.
it's all a growing thing. But yeah. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of that. You guys are beautiful and amazing. And I will once I it's recording, I promise. We got this. And I'll send it to you, and I'll kind of like see if I need any help with anything.
yeah,
Um
Okay.
but yeah.
for
All right.
sure.
You guys have a wonderful
Thank you,
dinner.
Sarah.
Whatever you're going to have. I don't know what I'm eating, but we'll see.
I made
Um
chicken wings for the first time this afternoon. I've just never made them. I always buy them.
how
They
do
were
you make
fire.
chicken wings? Oh, did you do
You
like air
just buy
fryer?
the chicken wings.
Yeah.
No, I baked them in the oven. I like toss them in seasoning, and apparently the key is baking powder. I
Oh, to
tossed them
make
in
crispy
baking powder.
skin.
Yeah. And then I baked them, turned them, baked them some more, tossed them in buffalo sauce.
Oh, I do like buffalo sauce.
We were practicing for the Super Bowl next weekend because we're bringing wings.
I have the perfect like recipe if you guys like spicy. It's literally 8 ounce like little block or not, but like block of butter, 1 cup of sriracha, and 1 cup of honey. Melt the butter on the stove and then pour in both. And it's literally you can cover it in chicken, whatever. Oh,
Ooh.
so good. And
Oh
so
my God, that sounds so good. Okay, send
Yeah.
it in the group chat.
Send it.
I'm so happy.
Yes.
You guys are such little like homes because Danny wants her own little homestead too. Oh my God, it's so funny. But we'll have to talk more. Danny has like a
Yeah.
frozen cow in her. Was it a cow that you have in the
No, we got a
freezer?
pig.
Oh, a pig.
We
Okay,
yeah, we
gotcha.
got half a pig.
But I'm sure
nice.
the butcher stuff is better than the stuff. Does it?
Yeah.
Is the bacon good?
Oh, yeah, it's completely different than store-bought bacon though, because it's like meatier. It's not as like fatty, so it's like tougher, but it's very
Okay.
flavorful. Um, yeah, I also just feel better about eating it. You know what I mean? I feel like people
Yeah.
crap on pork all the time and say pork is so bad and pork's the worst, but like if I feel good, I feel like it's just an animal
Mhm.
that and it was raised ethically and it wasn't fed a bunch of junk and
Hmm.
all the hormones and all that crap. So
Look, if you're a little
I
bit
feel a lot
crunchy, if you
better
guys
about
are
eating my
crunchy,
bacon.
I am the opposite, so I need all the crunchy advice because I'm like I'm not reading labels. I'm eating McDonald's, so I got problems, but it's fine. All right, I love you guys. Before my phone dies, I want to end it, but I will talk to you all later.
Okay. Bye, Sarah.
Mwah.
Bye, Grace.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.